Hello, I am joined this evening by the St Martin's Reserve Team manager, Liam Braisdale, who's kindly taken some time out of his busy schedule to join me for this interview. Good evening, Liam, and how are you? And how's the preparations for the new season coming along?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Pre-season's going well. The lads are ticking along quite nicely. So, we want to kind of kick on and start the season really well now. We've got 3 games this week and hopefully we can get 3 really positive results to move into the season.
So talk to me about how the opportunity at St Martin's came about.
The opportunity came around. I'd left a football club I left Whitchurch Allport, the ladies team there, to basically just didn't really fit into the structure there. It was nothing against anybody. I just felt that it wasn't for me. And then I got a call within 24 hours from St Martin's and said, do you want to come down here and speak to us? And I spoke to Steve Garnett, who was the assistant manager then, got a lot of time for Steve, really think he's a nice guy, and James Everington as well, the manager. And it all happened pretty quickly. It was within 24 hours. And then I got the role to take on the under-18s for the following season.
So what was it about St Martin's that really attracted you to them? Obviously, you just left the ladies team of Whitchurch Allport, and no one could blame you for going, you know what, I'll take a break till the end of the season. So what helped you make that decision to make the jump straight to St Martin's?
I think it was, I wanted to keep going, and I felt like I had a point to prove a little bit, because obviously I was with Ellesmere as well that year, and I was with Whitchurch, and I just felt like I still had that hunger to carry on. And then obviously I got the call from St Martin's, and like I say, all that happened very, very quickly. I met the committee pretty much within, that weekend. I think we had training with the first team that weekend. So I met the first team and I met the committee that week. And it was just the club sold itself for me. Nobody had to sell it. The people there just kind of summed it up. The committee, they're very, very working class, very grateful for what you do. And, it's a very family orientated kind of environment, and everybody looks after each other, and they kind of give the managers reign to do what they need to do, and without any interference. So that was a big draw for me in coming here, and I'm still here now, so it's all is positive.
So when you first go in for the first training session, how was it for you, and how was it different to when you were coaching women's football? Was it a smooth transition, or was it harder than you originally expected?
You know what? Looking back, it was really tough. With all the COVID restrictions we had in place, we couldn't do certain things in training for the first sort of month. So when you got a group of 18-year-old lads, and then I'm turning up, literally I coached the first session pretty much on my own. So I come down and I was like shaking a little bit when I arrived, and training went very well. The boys made me feel very, very welcome. They still give me jip even now today. So the banter's very good with them, and they're just a really, really nice group of people. It's not about football all the time either, and training was difficult because we couldn't do any contact work for a month, and then when the contact come in, everything kind of started for us then, and we got games going, and the boys started to feel really, really competitive and getting their sharpness. So yeah, it was difficult at first, but as soon as we kicked on, we kicked on.
So obviously you were talking about the pandemic there. So how do you think the pandemic affected you and affected the players in that first season for you?
I think it affected everybody, didn't it? We count ourselves fortunate that everybody at the football club is okay, and nobody really suffered with it. We had a first teamer, unfortunately, who lost his mum this year and to COVID over in America. So, we send our condolences to him. It was awful news. But, in terms of players and committee members, we thank our lucky stars a little bit, because it really could have got serious. And And I thank our COVID protocols as a football club. We really nailed down the social distancing and making sure that everybody sanitised. And you know what, it was a really safe place to be, even though the world probably wasn't a safe place to be with COVID at that point.
Or was that the biggest thing that helped you and the players come back into training? Was the COVID protocols, making sure that everyone was safe, the hand sanitizers and everything? Was that the big reason that returning to training was as easy as it was?
Yeah, the club worked really hard. They nailed down all the protocols that they needed to put out, and we really did follow them. It was really, really strict, but it kept everybody safe. And it's only since obviously the restrictions now have been lifted that actually we in the certainly in my team, in my reserve team, that we've had 2 positive cases, and that was just last week. So considering we've been in the pandemic for 18 months nearly, and we didn't have not really one case, certainly not with my group. I think the first team maybe had 1, 2, but we were very, very, very lucky. James Everington, bless him, over the summer ended up with COVID, and it took a lot out of him. So, I think until it affects you, it feels like that you don't take it seriously until it affects you. And when it did affect one of us, everybody kind of clicked then, and the protocols were so strict and so nailed that we made it kind of difficult for one of us to get it because all the social distancing and everything that we put in place.
So how hard was the pandemic for you and the players, not having the training, not having that routine of every week seeing your mates playing football? And how did you find it personally from managing at Ellesmere and Whitchurch every week, good routine, and when you come to Whitchurch, you have when you go to the St Martin's, so you have that one session, and then it's locked down for a few months.
I think the players were okay. We did check on them, and we give them fitness programs, and we did Zoom quizzes. Some of their knowledge leaves a lot to be desired about certain subjects, to be honest. But we did keep an eye on them. They were okay. Personally, myself, I'm not ashamed to say I did struggle through the pandemic, not having football at a weekend and kind of planning and not knowing when you were going to get back. I like clarity, and I like to know when I'm going to, date and things like that. And it was like I was banging my head on the wall in the end. And obviously my partner was probably sick of the sight of me, to be honest, and wanted me out the house.
So obviously, when you came back, you continued the league season. So how was the season by your standards, like your expectations, and how did the players find it by their standards?
I think we accepted that it was a really, really good season. I think I said to the players before the start that I would like us. I think it was an 8-team league. I would like us to be in the top 4 of that division, and we ended up finishing second. We lost out to an unbelievable team in Prees who were just genuinely so good, and we couldn't compete with that. But we felt like that, to be second best to that, we'd accept that all day long. I thought the players all season were magnificent. Their attitude were magnificent, and if it ever did slip, then we did address it, and the boys really did buy into what we were trying to do and play a certain way. And you know what, they played some really good football and got some really good results as well. So, and we had a few players go and play in the first team. So that's something that was a big expectation at the start on us. So, in considering the pandemic and the lockdowns, to still get players to go and play in the first team, and that was a major positive for the football club.
Was that because obviously you said a couple of players played for the first team, how did that make you feel? Obviously coaching them, and you're seeing that progression for you then to see them play for the first team. How did that make you feel as a coach, feeling like, yeah, I'm doing the right things for my players to play for the first team?
It made me very proud, because that's the whole reason that you take up a youth team. You want them to transition up. So we've gone from 18s this year now to reserves. So they're already making that slow transition into adult football, and they've got years of adult football left in them, every single one of them. But to see them go and play first team football, it made me very proud. I had a reserve team player played just yesterday and scored an unbelievable goal to snatch a point at home. And it's that kind of moment. If you could live in that moment a little bit longer, with all the reserve lads there watching him as well, and throwing their beers about, and it was just an unbelievable moment for everybody connected with the football club, that we got a reserve lad that's come in and scored that kind of goal. We had 2 or 3 of us that played in friendlies and cup games, and it was a really, really good season for them, and it was a good platform to learn from. And I just hope now that, let's see if they can keep that hunger and want to do that again this year.
Yeah, because as you were saying then, you've moved from under 18s to reserve team football. So it's teenage football to men's football. So how have the lads in pre-season stepped up to arguably it's now men's football?
I won't lie, we struggled. We struggled at first. We had a couple of games against two teams from the Wrexham area who were, a lot of players that have played adult football for a number of years, and we didn't quite. I don't know whether it was just maybe a lack of match fitness or that kind of thing. At that point of the season, you just want to get your minutes, but I think we struggled with the level of physicality a little bit, and some of the players have had to have a long, hard look at themselves after some of the games, and I've had a long, hard look at myself as a manager and think, am I doing the right thing, and putting the players in the formation that's going to get the best out of them. We're still working that out a little bit, but I'm hoping by next week, certainly after the 3 games that we've got this week, that we'll take that on to the first league game on the 14th. So yeah, it's been difficult, but they are adapting very, very slowly, and it is going to be a gradual process. It's not going to happen overnight, and but that was the same last season. We weren't going to improve the team overnight. They had 1 point in the league the year before, and we went and lost the first 3 games, and then things started to click a little bit, and we played a different way. And you just have to adapt to the times, I guess, and adapt to the circumstances that you're in. And to be fair, every single player has done that so far. So hopefully, we can kick on and really start the season well, considering we've got such a young group of players.
So obviously with the young group of players, talk to me about the players that you have brought in who haven't played under 18s football. Obviously, you're playing men's football now, so you'll need players with a little bit more experience. So talk to me about the players that you have signed. Obviously, you've signed a new captain as well. So tell me about the process of finding players to bring into the group that doesn't really upset the apple cart, because obviously the lads are all mates. They've all played together since they were little, and so I wouldn't say how difficult was it to find the right players, but what was the process in terms of finding new signings?
So we're lucky that myself and my assistant are very close with the first team. So we kind of cherry pick some trialists from there that maybe need minutes with us before they go and play first team football. So we had a good look at a lot of players throughout. I obviously knew 1 or 2 as well that I could bring in and could add something to the group. So, I brought in a new striker in Ryan Jones, that he does score goals and works hard, and he might not give me 90 minutes, but I know he can give me 20 minutes at the end of a game if you're a goal down and maybe get you a goal. So, the boys, it was pretty much from the thought process behind it was definitely the first thing was we'd have to keep this young group together. Because they worked so hard and did so well, it would be unfair for me to just completely rip it up and bring a load of new players in and hope it kind of sink or swim. But these players are good enough to play adult football. They've struggled to adapt a little bit so far, but they're still so young and so raw and so hungry that actually they can do it. And I think they will. Adding the experience, especially like you said with the new captain coming in Mikey, he's been absolutely incredible in galvanizing this young group of players, and slowly things are starting to click to where we want it to be, and hopefully over the next few weeks will turn into a couple of results.
So you're saying about some of the younger players like having a bit of a shock at how physical the men's game is. Have you seen a physical improvement in some of the lads? Have some of the lads gone away and put a little bit of muscle on to, I'm trying to think of the right word, to to hold their own in men's football?
I wouldn't say it was a need to, like you say, build or make themselves bigger. I think it was more of a mentality with me. I think it was a case of that we were playing men and we were still kind of in that youth football mindset where, if referees, if in youth football, if somebody breathes on you, you get a foul, and you're not going to get that in adult football. And I think we had to learn that pretty quickly. But, to be fair to them, from the first 2 pre-season games to where we're at the moment, I think is really good. Standards in training have been okay. They could be better from everybody, including myself. So they've had to adapt and they've had to get that mentality. Some have gone away to the gym, which is great, and want to make themselves a little bit bigger, and that's absolutely fine. They can do that. But these boys, they're not scared of anything, and they're certainly adapting and they will get stronger for it. So it's more of a gradual process.
Yeah, obviously it is a gradual process making that jump. As I found out when I played under 18s football, obviously I didn't make the jump to men's football. So credit to the lads that have actually managed to make the jump. So what are your expectations for the new season? Is there any specific league position you want to finish? Do you want to end with a trophy, or what was your minimum requirement for this season?
So the committee haven't set me any expectation that I know of. I think it's just a case of we've got to keep this group together. Myself and my assistant Sean Baker have simply said, before pre-season, that we take everything week by week and game by game and just see where it takes us. There's no point me going into that changing room of young lads and saying we're going to win the league and getting them all excited if we're nowhere near that. So, I'd like to hope that we could do okay and kind of take things week by week. But my focus really is on developing this young group and making them first team players and ultimately carrying the name of the village in the right manner and representing ourselves well in the Shropshire Leagues, which maybe we haven't done in previous years.
So last question before we go. What's the biggest thing you've learned so far at St Martin's?
Biggest thing? I've learned a lot about being grateful. Being grateful to your group of players that give up their time for you, and the committee that give up their time, and they write out a budget every year. I sat in the AGM before the season started and they were telling me that how they got all this money and trying to, from grants and things last year, obviously with COVID, and how, they worked so hard to keep the club afloat. And it's kind of like, you're one small thing in a football club at that point. When it becomes a much bigger issue, that the football club is some of these committee lads that run it. It's literally their lives. So that's the pressure for me. That's keeping them happy is the pressure, nothing else. And they're such lovely people. So I've learned to be a little bit more grateful to the people that are trying to help you and run the football club, which maybe I hadn't done before. So it's an unbelievable club, and I'm absolutely loving every minute of it.
Liam, thank you for joining us this evening, and good luck for the new season.
You're very welcome, mate. Thank you very much.